Hi class, in this video I'm going to be talking about how to determine the actual length of an object using either scale factor or proportions and ratios. So for this example, it says the scale for the model of a humpback whale is 1 to 280, and here it shows 5 centimeters is the length of the whale. So the first thing you want to note is which is the image and which is the actual. So I'm going to start by drawing image as a ratio to the actual. Now you have to ask yourself this, what's bigger? If this is 5 centimeters long for a humpback whale, what's bigger, the image or the actual size of a humpback whale in real life? In this case, the real life size should be much bigger than 5 centimeters. So 1 is going to be related to the image, and 280 should be related to the actual. So what that means is this 5 centimeters should be related to the image as well, because the actual size of a humpback whale is much greater. So I'm simply going to write 5 below here, and I'm simply going to let this be the unknown that we're looking to find. So how to solve this using proportions and ratios is I ask myself this question: how can I get from 1 to 5 by multiplying by a number? And if it's not too obvious, to find out what number you can use to multiply 1 by, you simply take the 5 that you see here, this value, and you divide it by 1. In this case, the answer is still going to be 5. Hence, if I multiply 1 by 5, I get 5. But what I do to the image, I have to also do to the actual. So now I have to take 280 and also multiply it by 5. And that should be the actual length of my humpback whale in centimeters upon doing that. So upon doing so, I have 280 times 5, and the answer I'm going to get is going to be 1400 centimeters, because it was 5 centimeters. It was 5 centimeters before. So 1400 centimeters is the actual size or actual length of my object, which in this case is the humpback whale. So I'll say 1400 centimeters is the actual length of the whale. And I found that using proportions and ratios. Now I can also find it using scale factor. So to find it using scale factor, you simply just have to know what your image is and what your actual is. Right now I have a ratio of them. So what you want to do is you want to take your actual and simply divide it by your image as a ratio. And that should be your size for your scale factor. So 280 divided by 1 is still 280. Hence, my scale factor, which I use SF to represent, is going to be 280. So that's my scale factor here. Once I find the scale factor, I can simply take the size of the image, multiply it by my scale factor, and that would get me my actual size. So again, I take my image, multiply by scale factor, and I get the actual size. So in this case, 5 times 280, which is my scale factor, will get me my actual size. But in this case, that would just get me 1400 centimeters, which is the same answer as I would get if I used ratios and proportions.